Hey y'all, I'm Mickey Gousset, and welcome to day 3 of my GitHub Migration Strategy series. Now, so far in this series, we've given an overview of the entire series, and we've looked at the low-fidelity Git clone mirror push option for migrations. However, for many customers, they want more than just the Git repository. They also want metadata, such as pull request history, and the like. And for that, they're going to need a migration tool. Enter the GitHub Enterprise Importer. This is a tool built and supported by GitHub to help you migrate from multiple other systems to GitHub Enterprise Cloud, such as GitHub Enterprise Server, BitBucket Server, and Azure DevOps. I've got several upcoming videos that will dive into the migration process for all of these. But for this video, we just want to get the tool installed. We're going to do the following to install the tool. Step 1. Install the GitHub CLI. The GitHub CLI, cli.github.com, brings the power of GitHub directly to your terminal. Step 2. Install the GitHub Enterprise Importer extension. Once the CLI is installed, we need to install the GitHub Enterprise Importer extension. Now, the CLI is designed to allow custom extensions, and GEI is just one such extension. Okay, let's jump in and see how to do this. Okay, now first up, we need to install the GitHub CLI. Now, the GitHub CLI, as it says, brings GitHub to your terminal. It's free and open source. You can get it at cli.github.com, and it runs on Windows, Linux, Mac, pretty much everywhere. Now, to install the GitHub CLI, there's instructions for installing it. But what we're going to do is flip over to our command prompt and run the commands from there. So here we are in my Windows terminal. I'm running Ubuntu on WSL. And if I do a GH, which is the command for running the GitHub CLI, you'll see that it doesn't exist. So the first step is we need to install the GitHub CLI. So we'll do a sudo apt install gh. Give it my sudo password. And this is going to install the CLI. So now if we do a gh, we can see that the CLI has been installed. And we can do lots of different things with the CLI. But what we're interested in right now is this idea of extensions to the CLI. So if we do a gh extension --help, we can see that we have all these different extensions, or these commands we can use for installing extensions, browsing extensions, removing them, etc. Now, first thing I want to do before I install the extensions is I want to get myself authenticated to GitHub. So I'll do a gh auth --help. And you can see that I can do things, so let's just log in, log out, refresh the authentication. So we're going to do a gh auth status, which shows that I'm currently not logged into anything. And we'll do a gh auth login. So in my case, I'm logging into github.com. I'm going to use HTTPS, and I'm going to log in with the web browser. So it's going to give me a code, and then it's going to prompt to open a browser. Well, it's going to try. I think it's going to fail in my CLI, but let's see. So it did. So instead, we're going to go to this location, GitHub login device. We're going to need this code. So let's grab the code. And now let's flip back over to our web browser. And we'll go to github.com/login/device. put in that code and click continue. And I'm going to authorize. So it's going to prompt me to authenticate. So I'll just use my password. And I'm all set and I'm authenticated. So let's go back to our command prompt. So now back at our command prompt, you can see that the authentication is completed. And if I do a auth status, I'm now logged in to, or authenticated to GitHub. Great. So now I have the CLI installed. The next step is I need to actually install the extension. So if we do GH extension --help, there's multiple different ways that we could install the extension. If we know exactly what to type, we could just type GH install. If we wanted to browse all the extensions that are out there, we could do a GH browse. Let's try that. GH extension browse. So what this does is tries to give you an interface for all the extensions that we potentially know about, to where then you can view information about the extensions and even select the extension that you want to install. So you can see we have all these different extensions out there. So let's see if we can do a search for GEI, for GitHub Enterprise Importer. As you can see, we selected the GitHub Enterprise Importer here. We can see all the details about the GitHub Enterprise Importer. And if I want to install it from here, I can just click I to install. And it goes out to GitHub/gh-gei, which is the repository for the CLI extension for the Enterprise Importer, and it will install it. So let's quit out of this. And if we do a GH extension list, we can see that we now have it installed. The other option we have for installing this is we could have also just done a GH extension install GitHub GHEC, and that would have also installed the extension as well. And then, of course, if we don't need an extension anymore, we can remove it. And if we want to use an extension, for example, if we want to use the GHGEI extension, we would say GHGEI. Let's do --help. And this will shows us that the extension is installed correctly. We're the CLI for the GitHub Enterprise Importer, and starts giving us details on the different commands that we can run. So there you go. We installed the GitHub CLI, and we installed the extension that you need to be able to start doing migrations. So next up in future videos, we're going to start using this extension. Okay, so at this point, we have the GitHub Enterprise Importer installed, and we are ready to go, right? Well, almost. First, we need to talk about the migration process and what is and isn't migrated. I'll see you in my next video for that. Thanks for watching.